We now return to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. The articles that Mr. McGilded had deposited in Windibank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago.
Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well.
That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilded. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. And now here we are all again, the same players in that trial facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend. Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago because, of course, an old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilded. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder, but as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged, that the murder, in fact, took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilded died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on, and as indeed does the omnibus murder itself.
Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor this small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings.
Miss Lestrade, would you tell the court now, please, what really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean?
I don't know what you mean. I already said all what I know.
And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important. Remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose.
Ginny, don't listen to him. Please, you have to trust Runo now.
Iris,
We're on your side.
were you not expecting her to be here when you were talking in the antechamber? All right then, no talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it.
I must confess I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilded's pawned articles in that extraordinary case in the omnibus harbour secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements.
This is it then. Everything's going to come out. Like Van Zeek said. This could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. I have no choice.
Truth is, that we're off to a great start. Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from over my head, and that pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops. That's when McGilded slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop round about. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I had seen or heard.
Good grief, this is outrageous. I only have about 3 catchphrases. What you just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago.
As you say, my lord.
Then there's every chance I may have adjudicated in error in McGilded's trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes.
Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friend are entirely inexcusable.
I don't believe it. The whole trial was a farce. It was all lies.
That McGilded fellow's run to the court, just like that pickpocket.
Don't forget that lawyer from the east. They were all in on it together.
You're wrong, the lawyer. Mr. Naruhodo, the lawyer there, he didn't know nothing about it.
I'm bug. I'm changing voices for everybody.
I don't think so. Are we really expected to believe that?
He really stitched up everyone, didn't he? What an operation to get the man off scot-free.
Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop.
Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of McGilded's Pond articles must be brought to light. Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of calamity you've just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing.
Words fail me. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, my lord?
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Why the fuck should there be consequences for this?
Of course, my lord. Wrong voice.
It was decided by jury.
Blimey, Mr. Naruhodo.
Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Truth is, Brickmaker Co. was in a cabin the whole time.
And you were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats.
Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all.
Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed Mr. McGilded was the sole passenger, did you not?
False testimony, my lord.
That's what you told me I had to say.
But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilded and the victim acquaintances?
I don't know. But I did hear him talking a lot.
What were they talking about?
Well, I couldn't hear too well. If I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying.
Perhaps business dealings of some kind.
Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe. And then, all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone keeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all.
And I believe you let out an involuntary scream.
Yeah, that's what gave me away. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor.
Oh, shit. Wrong one. Gotta go back and press on it.
Hold it!
Was the disc you saw this disc?
Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove lying on the floor.
This disc had belonged to the victim, perhaps.
I don't know, but McGilded picked it up pretty smartish. And then he set the cove with the knife in his belly up on the seat.
What did he say to you at the time?
He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen or heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I'd get stuck with that knife too. He started asking me a load of questions, like what my name was and where I lived and that. He asked me about being a diver too.
After a while, what had happened in the carriage was noticed?
Yeah, that's right. At first there was a kind of rapping noise. All of a sudden I heard a scream from over my head.
Hold it!
There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe.
That's right. He must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with the knife in his guts. When they screamed, the driver pulled up their horses and McGilda got out of sight.
Right, so that's the guy with the whatever. I can't even remember the characters and their voices anymore.
Out of sight? Where?
Back into the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to an halt, 2 coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops.
If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left McGilda, the driver, and you still at the scene.
Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I had the cabin door open and a voice from outside.
Driver, yes. He also testified in the trial, I believe. Oh, good fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves.
What did McGilda and the driver say to each other?
I don't know what happened and stuff like that, mainly. Oh, I don't know what happened and stuff like that, mainly.
That's when McGilda slipped the driver some tin.
Hold it!
Talk about that. That pawn shop obviously being Windibanks on Baker Street.
Just a moment, counsel. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well?
Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand.
Indeed, Lord Van Zeeks.
McGilda took off his coat and gave it to me, or gave it to the driver. He folded it up, all careful-like, before handing it over. When I saw him do it, when I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it's got to be worth a few bob.
Yes, Gina was sure the disc must be worth more than Windibank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery.
The driver looked pretty happy when McGilda flashed some brass in his face. He went running off like a lick. A lick, whatever the fuck, I can't read anymore. Trying to do this stupid Cockney shit that's not working out for me at all.
I don't think it has the entire game.
Then the bog trotter called to me and told me to come out from the dragon's cabin. Threatened me not to snitch. Said nothing, whatever.
Hold it!
Threatened you how, exactly?
Told me I'd only be able to stop her if I did exactly what he said.
Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's it. And there was one other thing he said.
Which was?
He told me I'd have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it.
The ticket? Well, I never...
This guy is absolutely credulous, isn't he?
Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I had to go to the shop and pay the money to keep it in luck, to stop it being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it.
But really, why on earth would Mr. McGilda have done such a thing? Depositing his overcoat with the pawnbroker before the arrival of the police, it makes no sense at all.
It would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGilda had the driver deposit at Windibanks was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs.
Anyway, after that, he let me go, so I legged it before the coppers showed up.
Well done, Gina. Can't have been easy to tell the truth like that.
Ginny's really put her faith in you, Runo.
Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. So I need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible.
It's time to really go for it. Press her on every statement.
I have. I suppose I should.
Oh, and another thing.
What's that?
Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange they've been whispering to each other the entire time?
Yes, that is strange. It looks like they're having a secret discussion about something. I'm not sure I'm completely comfortable with that. I wonder if there's anything I can do about it. Okay.
Hold it!
So we have to press again, and you're hiding in the cabin as well. So can we...
Excuse me!
Is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Inspector, Mr. Graydon.
Blimey, you trying to give me a heart attack?
You've been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about?
Discussion? With this fella? All the other ones, Sunshine. You think I've got anything to talk about with a shady gent like this?
And I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc that was rightfully mine. They've clearly been talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating.
Thank you, Miss Lestrade. Thank you, counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what actually transpired on the omnibus.
It would appear on the night 2 months ago a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. A negotiation concerning this disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGilded took what he wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life. Which proves my point. The disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way, although I don't understand why as yet. And 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, Mr. McGilded's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited.
I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the cove died right after his trial. I knew that.
So you decided you would try to claim the articles as your own?
Well, why not, eh? They were only going to be forfeited. Why shouldn't I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime.
Miss Lestrade, it would appear Mr. McGilded was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be?
Eh? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must be worth a fair bit of brass, whatever. He was probably going to sell it.
Probably not.
And you can't blame me for thinking that. Thinking ain't no crime.
Okay, that's the second time she said that. Why?
My lord, who's...
Oh, you. The evidence your lordship requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir.
What are we talking about? The mysterious little box deposited by McGilded 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. To be continued. See, if I just let these things run or broke them up appropriately, we'd be looking at like hour-and-a-half episodes. Sure, we'll save progress. We can probably do this one. No. The back button. There you go.
So this is the article in question, is it? The small box deposited with the pawnbroker by Mr. McGilded 2 months ago.
And on the night of Mr. Oh, sorry, who the fuck was talking? I don't know. And on the night of Mr. Windibank's murder. The only item on the shelves that was touched by whoever broke into the shop.
Quick, let's open it and see what's inside.
Good gracious, this is no ordinary box, it seems.
Wow. Although in truth I had an inkling that it might be the case. It would appear that the box houses a miniature music box movement.
Then, is it too much to expect?
I think it would be reasonable to assume that it is a device for the playback of this disc, my lord.
So, here we have the means to play back Mr. McGilded's disc, deposited at Windibank's at much the same time.
Not strictly correct, my lord. It was not McGilded's disc. It was the disc of his victim in the omnibus.
But why, for heaven's sake? We're to understand that the brickmaker was trying to sell this music box disc to Mr. McGilded?
I believe the answer will become clear if we listen to the music on the disc, my lord.
Yes, very well. Let the court now listen to this curious disc at last.
Oh, wait, my lord.
Good grief, what is the meaning of this, Inspector?
The music box and the disc are, well, they're unrelated to the case. And no need to spoil the somber atmosphere in the courtroom with some silly bit of music.
Objection!
Inspector Gregson, what are you up to? This disc may very well have motivated the culprit in this case to commit murder. Clearly, there's every chance that it's fundamentally important to understanding what happened. The prosecution has no objection. But no, that piece of evidence is police property now. You can't... Clearly, Scotland Yard has some vested interest here. But it is policy of this prosecutor to leave no avenues unexplored. And you, Inspector, have no jurisdiction here to prevent that from happening.
No further delays, please. Play the disc.
You want to move the piece of paper before it goes over the thing?
What on earth?
It's Morse code.
That's certainly not what I would call music.
No. It's just the same note played over and over again in an irregular sequence.
Mr. Graydon?
This is really priceless. After all, the music box is broken. Broken? It can't be, can it? Well, obviously. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the officer sent to fetch it didn't drop it on the way back to the courtroom.
Well, with much regret, I feel the court must accept that this music box offers little in the way of clues. Are you ready to move on, counsel?
Come on. Yes, alright, it does sound as though it's completely broken, but is it? Could this music emanating from the music box possibly be a new clue? It could be a clue. I believe that it could be relevant, my lord.
Good Lord, but how can it be? It's an abomination, counsel, mere noise. I fail to see how it can have any meaning whatsoever.
It does sound strange, I agree. But there's one thing bothering me. While Graydon stands there chortling victoriously, the inspector beside him has a rather telling expression on his face. It's as if Gregson recognizes the sound, as if he's familiar with it somehow. But would he be? We don't have any knowledge that he has connection to Morse code, unless he's the spy. And that's making him appear extremely on edge. If that's the stance of the defense, my Nipponese friend, answer me this. Oh? Just what relevance do you propose this woeful chiming has on this case? If it's the defense's belief that the sound emanating from this music box is not supposed to be music. Just because this is a music box, it doesn't necessarily mean the sounds we're hearing are music. Look at that. The smile vanished from Graydon's lips as soon as I said it. I'm on the right lines here. I must be. Making deductions based on how people react to what you say. You're acting just like Hurley, really.
Objection!
The sounds we're hearing aren't necessarily music. Well, now that you've told us what they are not, I'm sure the court would like to hear what they are. Do enlighten us, my Nipponese friend. Surely you have an idea in mind, because if not, it will be the death of your ill-formed argument. Exactly. The music box is clearly broken. Refusing to accept that fact is pure foolishness. You've got me. I don't know what the answer is yet. I do. Runo. I've just examined the music box very thoroughly. And I'm fairly certain that it's not broken at all. Really?
Really, the way it's been made, it can only produce a single note anyway.
Thank you, Iris. Alright, well, if the music box isn't broken, it must mean that the sounds it's producing have some significance that isn't musical. Ah. Could it be? Is that what these sounds are?
Something's just struck me, Runa. I feel like recently, in the past few hours even, I've heard another sound very much like the one this music box makes.
Yes, it's a familiar sound. Actually, Iris, I was just thinking exactly the same thing.
I'm going to have to press the defense for an answer. If your assertion is that the sound produced by this music box is not in fact music at all, then what the devil is it, Counsel?
All the evidence we've seen so far, all the testimony we've heard, it's all pointing to one single answer now. The prosecution demands that my learned Nipponese friend presents proof now. Tangible proof of this latest wild speculation. Alright then. This could be the best chance I've got, or I'm going to get, to fight back in this trial. And if I'm right, it's going to join all the dots together. And the dashes too. The evidence that explains the true nature of the sounds on this music box disc is... Is it the... do I go with the newspaper? That's about the only thing I've got going for me here. I don't have any way of otherwise showing Morse code. Instant death, single bullet wound. Yeah, that has nothing to do with it. So, something... This has something to do with it somewhere, somehow, in something.
Daddy's notes to write it. I think it's a great story. I don't know why Hurley's forbidden me to publish it.
Oh, it's strange, isn't it? Perhaps it's a problem with the title? Perhaps Mr. Sholmes is a family friend of someone who has the name or something?
Well, it doesn't have quite the same ring to it, but I could change it to The Hound of the Naruhodos.
Fairly sure that Mr. Sholmes is a friend of someone who has that name, too. I don't believe I've ever read the story, so I know nothing about whether it mentions anything about Morse code in it. But that is clearly not what we are about. It's got to be this, right? And then we can talk about leaking secret information, that it's Morse code. That's literally about the only thing I've got, so let's try it.
Take that!
Music didn't stop, so no.
Today's paper, Counsel. The headline is Pawnbroker Perishes in Pigpurse Park Haba. Mildly supportive of your case.
Oh, my lord, I was hoping you'd look a little further down the page.
Further down, Ministry Mole, classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. Yes, this is a very serious matter being investigated at the highest level, I understand.
I've heard that international transmissions along supposedly secure lines are somehow being intercepted, and they're leaked to various other countries. And presumably, those transmissions are in the form of wired telegrams? Of course. Juror number 5, your input, please. Stop. Misa. Whatever's the matter? You told the court before that you worked at the same communication station as Mr. Graydon, did you not?
Yes, that's correct.
And the particular station where you work deals with government communications and newspaper reports.
Oh yes, we're not your run-of-the-mill communication station at all. Our work is extremely important.
Then tell me, is this not a very familiar sound? You don't mean to say, is it? That's right, madam. It bears more than a passing resemblance to the sound made by your telegraph machine as you tap it. I believe it's called Morse code.
What? I don't believe it.
Now correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to leaking telegrams from government departments, there could be nobody more perfectly placed than a highly skilled communications officer. Are you suggesting that the music box disc contains stolen government secrets in Morse code?
Order! Please, everyone, order! But this is high treason, Council, deserving of capital punishment.
Too much vocabulary. What is this treason and what is capital punishment? The sort of words I'd half expect you to know.
For our sovereign government's confidential information, hostile nations would surely pay almost any price.
Yes, and on that night, 2 months ago, that was the very negotiation that was taking place inside the omnibus. But in the end, McGilded perished, and the all-important disc lay unclaimed in the pawnbrokery.
My word.
In which case, whoever stole that information in the first place must surely have been beside himself with worry, because if the disc were to be discovered before it found its way out of the country,
It would reveal an act of high treason punishable by death.
so the culprit had no choice but to retrieve it, and in order to do that, he would have to gain entry to the pawnbrokery illegally in the middle of the night. Because the article left behind by Mr. McGilded would incriminate him too much if it got into the wrong hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Graydon? You think I've been stealing government secrets? Preposterous. Absolutely preposterous.
So, in response to the defense's accusation, you claim complete innocence, do you?
Well, of course I do. I've had to stand here in silence while this pretentious foreign lawyer has been prattling away.
Objection!
So by all means, counter the charges, sir. The prosecution demands the witness testifies in response to the accusations brought by the defense. That's a bit of a change. Normally, didn't he just get finished saying a few episodes back that it's on us to prove all accusations? Delighted, I'm sure.
The witness is reminded that the crime under scrutiny in this trial is the murder of the pawnbroker, Mr. Winterbank. That being a most
flagitious? What? That's the first time I've ever seen that word.
Whatever offense for which the law of this land sanctions a capital punishment. The heinous act of high treason is no less serious a crime. I urge you to bear that in mind as you testify, Mr. Graydon. So then, let us proceed.
Hold it!
You gotta let us have a rabbit and pork here, Governor. We got things to say.
I beg your pardon. Who do you think you are?
Name's Nash Skulkin. Occupation is professional baddie.
Name's Ringo Skulkin, but we ain't baddies enough to sell out our motherland.
That's right. We're what they call the Three Skulkin Brothers. Bad timing, fellas. Very bad timing. Graydon's counter. A mere communications officer couldn't possibly steal confidential government information. Besides, the sounds produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. It's some low-class... I don't even know where your accent is now, my son. It was some low-class brickmaker negotiating with McGilded anyway, was it not? I've no relation to the man. Look, all we done is break into the gaff the other night, like what you told us to do.
If we'd known there was dodgy government secrets involved, we wouldn't have touched it.
How the hell are you supposed to do that? Oh, is each of those sentences a different statement? Okay.
Mr. Skulkin, you're confusing the testimony. Please get off the bench.
Well, Mr. Ado, Governor, what's up?
Do I take it that you now admit to the crime, that on the night in question you did indeed gain entry to the premises illegally, and moreover that you did so as a party of 3 in collaboration with Mr. Graydon here?
We did, Gov, we did.
Quieten down now, please. What say you to that, Mr. Graydon?
I have no idea what these two ruffians are referring to.
You little rotter, getting us mixed up in all this monkey business. You never said nothing about no government secrets. It was supposed to be a straight-up job. And what about the geezer whose shop it was, eh? Poor old bloke didn't have to die, did he?
Nice to know who your friends are. Whatever these men say, I deny the accusations.
Indeed. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting this little music box to become so significant in the proceedings. However, as it has, I will admit it into the court record as evidence.
The small music box has been entered into the court record. We should probably take a look at it immediately. It's not going to let me. Cross-examination. Okay, now I can look. Let's take a peek. There we go. See how the gilded disc sits in the music box the man deposited at Windibanks? It couldn't be a more perfect fit. But there's no question then, the disc was designed to be played in this music box. Yet, despite that, the sound it produces are neither musical, nor do they appear to have any meaning. It just doesn't make any sense. Some of the holes have to be covered up then. I wonder if perhaps there's more to this music box than meets the eye. Maybe we haven't discovered all its secrets yet. Boy, that sounds like a clue and a half, doesn't it? I'm betting you push that. Or there's a button. I was going to say you push the gem, but nope, the button's on the bottom. Oh. What is it, Ryuno? I've just noticed something about this music box. It looks like the bottom of it opens up as well.
Oh, you're right. Well, come on then. What are you waiting for? Let's open it.
All right then, here goes.
Look at that. There's another movement on the other side.
So, does that mean you can set another disc to play back on this side?
Yes, I think so, and it looks like the two movements are linked together.
They're linked?
So if you had two discs, they would both play back at the same time.
Very peculiar. Who'd have thought there would be a second movement on the underside of the box?
And this movement is like the other one. The comb's teeth are all the same length.
So this movement also only produces a single tone, like the other one?
Yes, it must do. Except that the length of the teeth on the other two combs isn't the same. So the single tone produced by this movement will be different to the single tone we've already heard. What? Basically, each movement can only produce a single note.
But the notes they produce are different. A music box that can only play two tones. Interesting. So why don't we pop that? Ooh, there's something below that disc anyhow. Can I look at that? It's probably just going to tell me about the disc again. Because there's most definitely something underneath that. Oh, maybe that's just the metal. That's just the comb. Never mind. All right. Me, a communications officer, couldn't possibly steal anything confidential.
Hold it!
So, is this newspaper headline accurate? Government communications are being intercepted. How could I possibly know? What do you mean by that? Any important government communications are handled by high-level officers, by specialists. General members of staff in the station where I work would never be entrusted with sensitive information. Did I just hear a jingle? Was that part of the music?
Oh no, stop. Must say something, stop.
Let me guess. Juror number 5.
We regular communication station officers aren't as lowly as you're being led to believe. A team of us are responsible for setting up and testing the telegraphs used by the ministry, and Mr. Graydon is the team leader.
That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled. Is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of idols. Stop.
So you had access to the equipment used for these confidential communications, Mr. Graydon.
Well, what of it? The transmissions were always made behind closed doors, so they can't be heard. And in any case, all messages are sent enciphered. Normal employees couldn't possibly understand them. Oh no, stop. Must say something, stop. Mr. Graydon regularly attends meetings with ministry technicians and the ministry communications team. He assists them in ensuring there are no errors in important international communications. And he's received the top prize at the Cipher Cracking Convention 5 years in a row now. That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of idols. Stop. Well, your idol would appreciate it if you'd keep your mouth shut. She should really pick her idols more carefully. I tell you, this lawyer's accusations are completely unfounded. Okay, but besides the sound produced by that music box, aren't even in Morse code. They're not? To anyone with a brain, that would be blatantly apparent on listening to that music box for even a few seconds. Of course. Surely it can't be that my learned friend is unfamiliar with Morse code. Ouch, he looks genuinely shocked at my ignorance. Would be more than happy to demonstrate the basics for you, sir. A lesson, here in court. It's not like we haven't had this before. Morse code is a continuous series of two distinct tones. Tones, you say? Yes, a short dot and a long dash. By combining those in different ways, you construct letters. I see. For example, this is A. And this is B. And when you listen to the sound produced by this music box, you only hear one tone, don't you? But it sounds so similar. The rhythm of it is the same in everything. As there is no discernible meaning to this apparent random sequences of sounds. So your assertion is fundamentally flawed. This is not Morse code. Already discovered the secret to that, though. You really shouldn't be so surprised. What did I tell you? That music box is nothing but a worthless piece of scrap. Perhaps you might consider studying your subject matter before casting aspersions in future. Stop. Nothing to say, but stop. Oh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Iris? I mean, if the government secrets were somehow being leaked using the music box, so many other things would be slot into place so nicely. But there'd still be something I haven't considered. Would it really be impossible to use this music box somehow to play back Morse code? I mean, we can give it a try, but I'm going to need the other disc. Still every possibility that this music box was instrumental in the leaking of government secrets. That's the belief of the defense, at least.
Objection!
Does it please you in some way, my Nipponese friend, to repeat the same line of argument ad infinitum? It's already been established that to be Morse code, two tones are required, dots and dashes. Yes, I'm well aware of that. Then, what?
Well, it would appear the defense has a hypothesis to put forward. You had better present your idea at once, counsel. How do you propose that this music box, which appears to produce only a single tone, could have been used to cipher secret messages into Morse code?
So I gotta pop it open and then I can present it? Why wasn't it just popped open from before? And that's kind of sneaky too, where before you didn't have to, because it doesn't even show you down below, you know, to examine further or whatever, to give you a hint. It's just like, oh, you can only show it or present it. Or look at the history or whatever.
Got it!
Good gracious, what am I looking at here? Another movement on the underside of the music box.
What? It appears, my lord, that the two movements are linked together. In other words, you can put two discs in this music box, and the sounds of both will play back at the same time.
Good heavens.
As the court has heard, Morse code comprises of two tones, a short dot and a long dash. With a second disc in place, this music box could be used to generate Morse code and convey a message. This is beyond a joke. I'm sorry? This poor excuse for a lawyer has absolutely no evidence to support his claims. So, of course, if my learned friend were able to present the court with the second disc, that would be another matter. Oh? I can't, at the moment. And may I remind the court that, as the witness has pointed out, he was not the one in the omnibus which McGill did 2 months ago, striking a deal over the disc, or discs.
Indeed, it was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker.
Exactly. I had nothing whatsoever to do with it.
Though it has holes, I must admit the argument presented by the defense has much promise. I believe the cross-examination should continue.
The link between Graydon and the victim of the omnibus case must be in there somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. Oh dear, it looks like you need to give your argument more strength, Ryuno.
I will reiterate your testimony, if you please, Mr. Graydon.
If I must, though I maintain exactly what I did at the start of this pointless cross-examination. Some low-class brickmaker negotiating with McGill did.
Hold it!
So 2 months ago in that omnibus, McGill had killed the brickmaker and stole the disc. Mr. Mason was a single man with almost nothing to his name. It seems he lived in an artisan quarter some years ago, but people there remember little about him. It doesn't make much sense, though, does it? How would a humble brickmaker come to acquire secret government information? How indeed? There must have been somebody else involved behind the scenes in all of this. Somebody who acquired the disc and gave it to Mr. Mason, in order to take it to the meeting with McGilded and negotiate a deal. Dear me. You may have it in for me, sir, but I assure you, I have far more class than that. An old brickmaker from an artisan quarter and his well-to-do communications officer. If only I could find some evidence to link the two of them together. This ticket.
If you have nothing more to add on that note, let us return to the witness testimony.
Look, all we've done is break into the gaff the other night.
Hold it!
Go ahead. Like Mr. Graydon told you to do, you mean? That's right, yeah. Who else, eh? Silly me, though. Thought he was just popping over for a natter after all them years, but the rotter had a dodgy job for us. Eh, Ash? Let me stop you there, Mr. Skulkin. After all them years, you say. You mean to tell me that Mr. Graydon is an acquaintance of yours? We're the sociable kind of baddies, you know. Sure, let's say Graydon's an old China.
Excuse me!
Is something wrong, Mr. Skulkin?
Eh? No, the other Mr. Skulkin.
What? Who, me?
When your brother was testifying just now, he said something that seemed to cause you to react.
Oh, I was just remembering the old days, that's all. We used to have a right old laugh together, but way back when.
Together, with Mr. Graydon, you mean?
Yeah, with Ash. I mean, you look at him now in his fancy whistle and flute, and you wouldn't know, you wouldn't believe it. And when he was younger, he was that poor part of town just like us. He was from the poor part of town just like us.
Is that so?
But he was always a leery one. He had the brains, he had the savvy. Always coming up with smart ideas what would never have gone with through our heads. Oh, blimey, ain't that the truth? Remember Milverton and Skulkin's milk run? That was a corker, eh?
Save it until after the trial. Your reminiscing has no place in this courtroom. And neither does your fruit.
Oi, that geezer asked us a question, didn't he? And we was answering. Yeah, we ain't done nothing wrong.
I mean...
Nevertheless, the court is not prepared to accompany you on your trip down memory lane. Counsel, can we turn our attention back to the testimony, please?
I don't know. Could that sentimental story be relevant somehow? Add it to the testimony. My lord?
Yes, counsel.
The brother's last sentimental statement could hold vital information relating to this case.
Very well, counsel. I will permit the brothers to supplement their testimony with that detail. Briefly, I hasten to add.
Say no more. The Skulkin never spoken. Milverton and Skulkin's milk run. God, them were the days.
Hold it!
I guess we press on that too. I'm sure I'm going to regret asking, but what exactly was that? Some kind of business?
Just a little scheme we had going back when we was youngsters. A bit of fun, really. Delivering fresh milk to the locals. That's what it was all about. This one's really hurting my voice.
It sounds alarmingly legitimate. There must be a catch. I suppose since we're here, I should ask them to elaborate. But on what? Well, the name, I suppose. Milverton, eh? Probably on all of them, I would imagine. So this business was just a bit of fun, you say, and it was just yourselves and Mr. Graydon involved.
Yeah, that's it.
Milverton and Skulkin's milk run, was it?
Yeah, that's it.
And where did the Milverton part come from?
Oh, right. I thought clever clogs like you would have that one worked out. That's...
Enough of this. How much longer are we expected to listen to this drivel? I don't... Let me guess. You don't accept anything these two witnesses are saying. Tell me, why is it that it was only at the mention of the name Milverton that you decided to interject? Because well...
It weren't the happiest of homes that one came from. Yeah, his old man was struggling for money so much his wife walked out on him. She took the name Graydon then, see? But Ash was always... Ash will always be Milverton to us.
Milverton. So that used to be your surname, did it? Of course not. This is all bumpkin. I've been a Graydon since I was born. Do you really think you can rely on the testimony of these two thieves, You're a communications officer attached to the civil service. As such, your personal details will have been thoroughly checked at the time of your appointment. It would be a very simple matter indeed to subpoena those records, Mr. Graydon.
Well, it would appear that Mr. and Mr. Skulkin's testimony has been reliable, for once. You were born Ashley Milverton, then. Is that correct?
Very well, yes. So Ashley Graydon was once Ashley Milverton. That information could change things, and could turn out to be extremely important. One of these things had AM on it, didn't it? Mason Milverton. Possibly his brother. Very interesting. Okay, but it is time to end this one here. We'll continue on next time.